They say blood is thicker than water, but I learned the hard way that greed is thicker than blood. My name is Margaret, and I'm about to tell you a story so twisted, so unbelievable, that you'll question every person you trust, because the daughter I raised, loved, and sacrificed everything for didn't just betray me. She orchestrated the most elaborate psychological torture I've ever heard of, all for money. I'm 73 years old, sharp as a tack, and until 6 months ago, I thought I knew my daughter Sarah. I was wrong. Dead wrong. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks. It started innocently enough. Sarah began visiting more frequently, bringing groceries and cleaning my house. But then came the questions, always the same questions, asked with increasing concern. Mom, do you remember eating breakfast this morning? What day is it? Where did you put your medication? At first, I thought she was being caring. How naive I was. The visits became daily interrogations. Sarah would arrive with her husband Mike, both studying my every word like I was a specimen under a microscope. They'd exchange worried glances when I couldn't remember trivial details. Those glances should have been my first warning, but a mother never suspects her own child of evil. Then came the phone calls. Random numbers calling at all hours. Voices claiming to be people I knew, asking about conversations I never had, appointments I never made. I started keeping a notebook, writing down these strange calls. That notebook would later save my life. The breaking point came on a Tuesday morning. I was watering my roses when Sarah arrived with a stranger, a tall man in an expensive suit carrying a leather briefcase. She introduced him as Dr. Marcus Peterson, a renowned neurologist from the state university. Mom, Sarah said, her voice trembling with practiced emotion, you called me at 3 a.m. last night, crying and confused. You said you couldn't remember how to turn off the stove and nearly burned the house down. You begged me to help you. I stared at her in shock. I had gone to bed at 10 o'clock after watching my favorite crime show. I never called anyone, but the way Sarah looked at me, with such convincing terror in her eyes, made me doubt my own memory for a split second. That second was all she needed. Dr. Peterson conducted what seemed like a thorough neurological examination, memory tests, cognitive assessments, motor function evaluations. Throughout the entire process, Sarah sat beside me, occasionally squeezing my hand and whispering, "It's okay, Mom. We're going to take care of you." When the examination ended, Dr. Peterson spoke to Sarah as if I wasn't in the room. "Mrs. Hamilton, the signs are quite concerning. Significant memory loss, confusion, disorientation. I'm afraid your mother is showing clear symptoms of early-stage dementia, possibly Alzheimer's. She absolutely cannot continue living alone." My world crumbled at that moment. Dementia? I felt perfectly fine. I managed my finances, maintained my home, and drove safely. Sure, I forget things occasionally, but doesn't everyone? I tried to protest, but Sarah's tearful embrace silenced me. "Don't worry, Mom. I'll take care of everything." And she did take care of everything. Over the next 2 weeks, Sarah steamrolled through my life like a hurricane. She had me declared mentally incompetent through an emergency court order. She became my legal guardian. She convinced our family that I was rapidly declining and needed immediate intervention. The first decision she made was moving me to Sunset Manor, an expensive assisted living facility an hour away from my home. "It's beautiful, Mom," she said, showing me glossy brochures. "You'll have friends, activities, and professional care. And don't worry about the cost. That's what your house money is for." My house, the 4-bedroom colonial where I'd raised 3 children, where my husband died in my arms, where 42 years of memories lived in every corner. Sarah put it on the market before I'd even packed my clothes. "Mom, you don't need all this space," she explained while contractors assessed the property. The house will sell for at least $700,000. After the facility costs and care expenses, there'll be plenty left for your needs. I watched helplessly as strangers walked through my home, measuring rooms, discussing renovations. My wedding china was packed away, my husband's workshop cleared out, my garden left to die. Sarah was erasing my entire existence, and everyone applauded her dedication as a daughter. But here's what nobody knew, including Sarah. I wasn't losing my mind. In fact, I was thinking more clearly than I had in years. And I was planning something that would destroy her more completely than she could ever imagine. You see, I've always been a suspicious person. Call it intuition, call it paranoia, but something about Sarah's sudden concern felt wrong. So I started paying attention, really paying attention. I noticed that I only felt confused and foggy after drinking the coffee Sarah brought me during her visits. I noticed that my house keys would be in different places after she left, even though I distinctly remembered where I'd put them. I noticed that items would disappear and reappear, making me question my own memory. Most importantly, I noticed that Sarah had been asking very specific questions about my will, my bank accounts, and my insurance policies. Questions disguised as concern, but clearly focused on my assets. So I did something Sarah never expected from her supposedly demented mother. I hired a private investigator. Detective Maria Santos was recommended by my attorney, a sharp woman in her 40s who specialized in elder abuse cases. I met with her secretly, paying cash, careful not to leave any paper trail. What she discovered over the next month would have shocked even the most cynical person. Dr. Peterson wasn't a doctor at all. His real name was Paul Peters, a struggling actor with a gambling addiction and mounting debts. Sarah had paid him $8,000 to pose as a neurologist and provide a fraudulent diagnosis. Maria had recorded him confessing everything, desperate to avoid criminal charges. But the fake doctor was just the beginning. Sarah had been systematically drugging me for months. The coffee she brought contained crushed Ambien and Benadryl, medications that would cause temporary confusion, memory problems, and disorientation. She timed her visits perfectly to observe me during peak impairment, then used these episodes as evidence of my declining mental state. The phone calls were part of an elaborate gaslighting campaign. Sarah had purchased multiple burner phones and was calling me at random hours, sometimes disguising her voice, sometimes having friends help her. She would claim to be my doctor's office, confirming appointments I never made, or neighbors reporting things I never did. Each call was designed to make me question my own sanity. Maria discovered that Sarah had been secretly recording our conversations for months, but only the moments when I seemed confused due to her drugging. She edited these recordings to make me sound far worse than I actually was, then played them for family members, the fake doctor, and eventually the court as evidence of my incompetence. The most chilling discovery was Sarah's research history. Her computer showed months of searches about inducing dementia symptoms, legal guardianship procedures, and how to challenge a will. She had planned this entire scheme from the beginning, motivated by her desperate financial situation. Sarah was drowning in debt. Credit cards maxed out, mortgage payments months behind, her husband's business failing, their children's college funds emptied. My house wasn't just an opportunity for her. It was her only escape from financial ruin. She was willing to destroy her own mother's mind and life to save herself from bankruptcy. But Maria had found something else, something that would make my revenge even sweeter. While Sarah was busy playing the devoted daughter, she was also having an affair with her husband's business partner, the same business partner who was helping her hide assets and plan her new life after stealing mine. I had everything I needed to destroy Sarah completely, but I wasn't going to simply expose her and send her to prison. That would be too easy, too quick. I wanted her to experience the same psychological torture she had put me through. I wanted her to lose everything slowly, painfully, just like she had planned for me. The revenge I was planning would be so brutal, so complete, that it would destroy not just Sarah, but everyone who had helped her or stood by while she tortured me. And the beautiful part was it would all be perfectly legal. Tomorrow was the final competency hearing where Sarah expected to complete her takeover of my life. She thought she was walking into a courtroom to finalize her control over my assets. Instead, she was walking into a trap that would destroy her life more completely than she could ever imagine. Because while Sarah had been busy trying to convince everyone that I'd lost my mind, I'd been planning the kind of revenge that would make her wish she'd never been born. And she had no idea what was coming. The night before the final hearing, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was nervous, but because I was excited. After months of psychological torture, tomorrow I would begin Sarah's complete destruction. And she had no idea what was coming. Detective Santos met me at dawn with the final pieces of evidence. "Margaret," she said, "what we've uncovered isn't just elder abuse. It's a criminal conspiracy involving multiple felonies. Your daughter is looking at decades in prison." But prison was just the beginning of what I had planned for Sarah. You see, while she was busy drugging me and stealing my life, I was busy learning everything about hers. I knew about her affair with David Chun, her husband's business partner. I knew about the money they'd been hiding in offshore accounts. I knew about the second mortgage she'd taken on their house without telling Mike. I knew about the college funds she'd stolen from her own children. Most importantly, I knew something Sarah didn't think anyone else knew. The real reason she needed my money so desperately wasn't just debt. She had been embezzling from her job at the nonprofit where she worked. Over $200,000 stolen from a charity that helped abused children. The irony was perfect, but my revenge wouldn't just expose Sarah's crimes. It would systematically destroy every aspect of her carefully constructed life, piece by piece, just like she had tried to do to me. The first phase was her marriage. I had hired a different private investigator to document Sarah's affair in explicit detail. Photos, videos, hotel records, restaurant receipts, text messages. Mike would receive a complete dossier of his wife's betrayal delivered to his office this morning, exactly 1 hour before the court hearing. The second phase was her job. The nonprofit's board of directors would receive an anonymous tip about Sarah's embezzlement, along with documented proof of the missing funds, exactly 30 minutes before the hearing. By the time Sarah walked into that courtroom, she would already be fired and facing a federal investigation. The third phase was her social life. Sarah was obsessed with her reputation, her social media presence, and her standing in the community. She volunteered at charity events, posted constantly about family values, and presented herself as the perfect daughter caring for her aging mother. I was going to destroy all of that in the most public way possible. But the fourth phase was the most brutal. Sarah's children, my grandchildren, would learn the truth about their mother in the most devastating way possible. Not from me, not from their father, but from the media coverage that would follow her arrest. You see, I hadn't just gathered evidence against Sarah. I had also alerted every major news outlet in the state about the hearing. The story of a daughter who faked her mother's dementia to steal her house was exactly the kind of scandal that would dominate headlines for weeks. Sarah's face would be plastered across newspapers, television screens, and social media platforms. Everyone would know what she had done. But I wasn't finished yet. The final phase of my revenge was the most personal. Remember how Sarah had been so careful to record me during my confused moments, editing the recordings to make me sound incompetent? Well, I had been recording her too. Every conversation, every fake moment of concern, every lie she told about my condition. But most importantly, I had recorded her true feelings about me. During one of our last conversations, when Sarah thought I was too drugged to remember, she had revealed her real thoughts. You know what, Mom? I've been waiting for you to die for years. Do you have any idea how much money I've wasted taking care of you? How much of my life has been on hold because of your needs? Well, not anymore. Whether you're really losing your mind or not, you're going to that facility, and I'm getting what I deserve. That recording would be played in court, broadcasted on the news, and sent to every family member who had praised Sarah's devotion. Everyone would hear exactly what she thought of the mother who had sacrificed everything for her. The morning of the hearing, everything went exactly as planned. Mike received the affair evidence and immediately called Sarah, screaming about her betrayal and threatening divorce. The nonprofit fired Sarah and called the police about the embezzlement. The media began gathering outside the courthouse, alerted by my anonymous tips about the shocking case they were about to witness. Sarah arrived at court looking frazzled and confused, her phone buzzing constantly with calls from reporters, angry family members, and her lawyer trying to understand what was happening. She kept looking around nervously, sensing that something was wrong, but unable to figure out what. When she saw me, she rushed over, her mask of concern slipping slightly. "Mom, what's going on?" "Mike called me screaming about some photos, and my job fired me this morning. They're saying I stole money. It's all crazy. Someone's trying to destroy our family." I just smiled calmly. "Don't worry, Sarah. Soon everyone will know exactly what's going on." The hearing began with Sarah's lawyer presenting her case, but he seemed distracted and kept checking his phone. The fake medical reports, the edited recordings, the testimony about my supposed decline. All of it was presented while reporters filled the gallery and cameras waited outside. Then it was my turn, and I was ready to destroy my daughter's life more completely than she had ever imagined possible. I stood up, looked directly at the judge, and said the words that would begin Sarah's complete annihilation. "Your Honor, my name is Margaret Thompson. I am 73 years old. I am not suffering from dementia, and I am the victim of the most elaborate fraud I have ever encountered. My daughter has spent months systematically torturing me, drugging me, and stealing my life. But what she doesn't know is that I've been gathering evidence of her crimes for months. And what I'm about to reveal will shock this court and destroy her life forever." The courtroom went silent. Sarah's face went white, and I began the systematic destruction of the person who had tried to destroy me. What happened next was so brutal, so complete, that even I was surprised by how thoroughly I was able to annihilate the daughter who had betrayed me. But she had taught me an important lesson. When someone tries to destroy you, you destroy them first, and you make sure they never get the chance to hurt anyone ever again. What I did to Sarah in that courtroom wasn't just revenge. It was complete and total annihilation. By the time I finished presenting my evidence, my daughter's life was destroyed so thoroughly that she would never recover. And the beautiful part was she had done it all to herself. I began by introducing Detective Santos, who methodically presented each piece of evidence like a prosecutor building a murder case. The fake doctor, the drugging, the gaslighting, the financial fraud. Each revelation hit Sarah like a physical blow. I watched her face crumble as her carefully constructed lies were exposed one by one. But then I played the recordings. Not just Sarah admitting to the fake dementia scheme, but her real feelings about me. Her voice filled the courtroom. "I've been waiting for you to die for years. Do you have any idea how much money I've wasted taking care of you? Whether you're really losing your mind or not, you're going to that facility, and I'm getting what I deserve." The gasp from the gallery was audible. Several family members who had supported Sarah looked shocked and disgusted. But I wasn't finished destroying her. I stood up and addressed the court directly. Your Honor, what you've heard today is just the beginning. My daughter didn't just try to steal my house. She committed multiple felonies, destroyed my relationships with family members who believed her lies, and caused me months of psychological torture that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Then I dropped the first bomb. But Sarah's crimes extend far beyond elder abuse. She has been embezzling money from the children's charity where she works. Over $200,000 stolen from abused children while she played the devoted daughter in public. Sarah tried to stand, to object, but her lawyer pulled her down. There was nothing to say. The evidence was overwhelming. She has also been having an affair with her husband's business partner, using my supposed illness as an excuse to meet with her lover while planning to steal my assets. Her husband received photographic evidence of this affair this morning. I could see Sarah breaking down, but I wasn't finished with her yet. But perhaps most disgusting of all, Sarah has been using her own children as props in this scheme. She brought my grandchildren to visit me while I was drugged, encouraging them to say goodbye to their sick grandmother, traumatizing them for her own financial gain. The judge was visibly angry now. The prosecutor was taking notes furiously. The reporters in the gallery were recording every word. Sarah's reputation, her marriage, her career, her relationship with her children, everything was being destroyed in real time. But then I delivered the final blow, the one that would haunt Sarah for the rest of her life. Your Honor, 3 months ago, when I first suspected what Sarah was doing, I made some changes to my estate. Every penny I own, including the house she tried to steal, now goes to the same children's charity she embezzled from. Sarah will inherit exactly $1, along with a letter explaining why. Sarah finally snapped. She screamed at me across the courtroom, calling me names I won't repeat, showing everyone exactly who she really was. But I wasn't done with her yet. And Sarah, I said, looking directly at her, since you're so concerned about my mental capacity, I want you to know that I've been recording every conversation we've had for the past 3 months. Every fake tear, every lie, every moment you pretended to care about me while planning my destruction. Those recordings have been provided to the district attorney, the media, and every family member who defended you. The bailiff was moving towards Sarah as she continued screaming, but I had one more surprise for her. Oh, and one more thing. Remember David Chun, your lover? He's been working with the FBI for the past month, providing evidence about your embezzlement and the offshore accounts you opened together. He's already made a deal to testify against you in exchange for reduced charges. Sarah collapsed, literally fell to the floor, as she realized that her affair partner had betrayed her just like she had betrayed me. The bailiff put her in handcuffs while she sobbed uncontrollably. But the destruction didn't end in the courtroom. As we walked outside, the media was waiting. Cameras, microphones, reporters shouting questions about the daughter who faked her mother's dementia. Sarah's face was broadcast live on every local news channel and would be the lead story for weeks. Within hours, the story went viral on social media. Sarah's Facebook page, where she had posted countless photos of her caring for her declining mother, was flooded with thousands of angry comments. Her Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, every platform where she had built her fake perfect life was destroyed by people sharing the news coverage and expressing their disgust. Her children, my grandchildren, learned about their mother's crimes from classmates who had seen the news coverage. They called their father crying, unable to understand how their mother could do such terrible things. Mike filed for divorce that afternoon and requested full custody, using Sarah's criminal behavior as evidence of her unfitness as a parent. The children's charity filed a civil lawsuit against Sarah for the embezzled funds, plus damages and interest. The IRS opened an investigation into her hidden assets. The district attorney filed multiple felony charges: elder abuse, fraud, conspiracy, embezzlement, money laundering, and perjury. Sarah's house was seized as evidence in the embezzlement case. Her bank accounts were frozen. Her car was repossessed. Within 48 hours, she went from thinking she would inherit my $700,000 house to being homeless, jobless, and facing decades in prison. But the psychological destruction was even more complete than the financial ruin. Sarah had built her entire identity around being the perfect daughter, the devoted mother, the charitable volunteer. I had exposed her as a criminal who tortured her own mother and stole from abused children. Her reputation was destroyed so thoroughly that she could never rebuild it. The trial lasted 3 months. Every day, the courtroom was packed with reporters and spectators watching the daughter, who had tried to convince everyone her mother had dementia. Sarah's lawyer tried everything, claiming she was mentally ill, that I had manipulated her, that she was under financial pressure. Nothing worked. The evidence was too overwhelming. The jury took less than 2 hours to convict her on all charges. The judge sentenced her to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole for 12 years. As they led her away in shackles, Sarah looked at me one last time. I smiled and waved goodbye. But even that wasn't the end of her destruction. In prison, Sarah discovered that inmates don't like people who abuse elderly parents or steal from children's charities. She was attacked multiple times and had to be placed in protective custody. Her cellmate, a woman convicted of embezzling from a veteran's charity, made Sarah's life a daily nightmare. Meanwhile, I moved back into my house, which was returned to me after the criminal case ended. I restored my garden, reconnected with friends and family who had been told I was losing my mind, and began giving interviews about elder abuse to help other victims. Sarah's children, now teenagers, refused to visit her in prison. They changed their last names and want nothing to do with their mother. Mike remarried a wonderful woman who treats my grandchildren like her own. The family Sarah destroyed with her greed has been rebuilt without her. 5 years later, Sarah remains in prison, forgotten by everyone except the victims of her crimes. She aged decades in those 5 years, her hair gray, her face hollow. The few photos that surface show a broken woman who destroyed her own life pursuing money that was never really hers to begin with. People often ask me if I feel guilty about what happened to Sarah, if I regret destroying my own daughter so completely. The answer is simple. Sarah destroyed herself. I just made sure she faced the consequences of her actions. Every choice she made led to her downfall. I simply provided the evidence of what she had chosen to become. The person who tried to convince the world I had lost my mind learned that underestimating your mother is the most dangerous mistake you can make. She thought she was playing chess while I was playing checkers. She was wrong. I was playing a game she didn't even know existed, and I won so completely that she'll spend the rest of her life paying for underestimating the woman who raised her. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth. Sometimes it's making sure the person who betrayed you experiences the same fear, helplessness, and loss of control they tried to inflict on you. Sarah wanted to erase me from my own life. Instead, she erased herself from everyone else's. And that's a justice more perfect than anything I could have planned. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We upload videos every day. And don't forget to tell us where you are watching from.